welcome back to my channel. I'm Leandra the TBR0 and my goal is to lessen my physical TBR one book at a time. I have my bullet journal with me. We're gonna flip through everything I've done thus far this year. So basically the month of January, that includes my yearly spreads, my specifically January spreads, and the reviews that I wrote an entire page worth for. If you end up enjoying this content, I promise you that 2024 is the year where I am consistent with bullet journal content. So be sure to like the video, comment below if you're a bullet journaler yourself, and then also subscribe so that you can watch more content like this. As I do with every single bullet journal video, I'm going to be watching it along with you and trying to comment as we go. So wish me luck. I'm feeling a bit scattered today, so this is probably going to be a weird one. Enjoy. Okay, so I only ended up recording about 16 minutes of my bullet journal, so I'm hoping that's as long as I talk with you. This is my cover page. You can see I have a color theme of yellow and purple. That's mainly because I serendipitously have a purple journal this year with a little bit of yellow, and last year I had a yellow bullet journal, so I was like, let's do a bit of an homage and celebrate the reads I did last year as I adventure into 2024. If anyone's interested in the materials that I have as far as like what I use for markers, what my bullet journal brand is, just let me know. I can maybe put up a pinned comment, but I have mentioned it numerous times in my other bullet journal content, so I don't want to bore you with the same information. For my 24 physical books in 2024, I am on track. Arguably, you should be doing about 2 books a month if you want to fulfill this, which is very nice. We love a 12-month kind of pattern for math, and the 2 books I have read were In the Woods and Dead Voices, and most people tend to choose 24 specific titles. I didn't do that. I'm kind of keeping to just genres, and it allows a bit more flexibility from the mood reader in me. With Did Not Finish, this is not a finished spread actually. I still am working out the key and what information I want, but so far I have the month, the title of the book, when I DNF'd it, page number wise or percentage, and then the format. So is it a physical book, an ebook, an audio? I probably will include some type of information about my acquisition, like is it a book that I bought, a book that I got from the library, that kind of thing. I'm figuring things out. And then I'm very excited because my first pre-order of the year is on its way actually. I got the notification, so The Cursed Rose is something I'm gonna have to read very soon as I get it. And for my books purchased spread, it looks very boring, and that's because I haven't really bought any new books this year, except for 3. They were books that I read back in 2023, so they really aren't affecting the challenge that I'm putting up on myself, which is reading every single book I buy in 2024. And we're gonna see what happens in February. I obviously have a pre-order coming in, but beyond that, I'm not planning on making any spontaneous purchases. So I feel as though putting this challenge on myself is really gonna restrict my buying, but mainly because I just don't have interest in doing it. I don't know, it's very interesting to kind of reflect on if this is going to be a hindrance or not. For NetGalley and gifted copies, I'm very happy that both of them are already being filled out in January, because NetGalley, especially those, are e-arcs that I always forget about, that I don't prioritize, and to see 3 here already makes me very happy, and I'm hoping in February to get a few more done so that my percentage rating is a bit higher, because at the moment it looks pretty dreary. And then for gifted copies, I do have 1 book that I haven't marked down yet, Midnight on Beacon Street. And I actually need to read that in the next couple days. So as you can see, this bullet journal specifically being recorded isn't updated, and I can promise you it's not updated here either, because looking at that spread, I'm like, oh yeah, I have already missed something. So I'll go back and do that. Now we have my honestly favorite spread. I love this, especially as the months go by and it gets filled up and it's so colorful and it shows the success of my reading year as it's going. I have read 13 books in January. You see a slight color change from a darker purple, a dustier purple, to a light lavender one. That's because books 14 and 15 I read in February, and that's how I track really as far as like how many books I read in a month, because I could just keep filling it out in one color, but I like to see the huge long train if I've had a really big reading month versus a tinier one. I'm like, that's a very quick indication that I had a bit of a reading slump, which is totally fine. And to date, I'm recording on, I think, the 7th of February. What is the date today? Yes, it's the 7th, and this video should come out on the 8th. That just shows how behind I'm consistently as far as making content. I have read 4 books, so we are doing really well in February already. Now, these two spreads, I'm very happy that they're coming along, because when I did my flip through for 2024, which I'll make sure to have linked below, it looked very bland. This specific page did, because I didn't have any statistics to include, whereas here you can see what I meant by the bar graph. So I've read, of the books, so 15 books within this, 6 different years. And so as I go and I am introduced to a new year, I will make sure to create a new bar. And I think that just saves space, because as I mentioned in my flip through, when I was doing all of the years, I realized that more than half of them I didn't read any books in. So it felt like a waste. And then for my genres, I'm doing little dots, and I feel like it's looking a bit cleaner than what I was doing last year too. And I am also extremely happy with how I changed my acquired and reading format spreads, because before I wasn't keeping track of the fact that I acquire books from different places when I'm immersive reading, like an e-arc. If I'm a bit delayed in reading it, I might have access to the audio through Libby. A book I purchased, for instance, I also might immersive read it with an audiobook from Libby. Rereads I wasn't keeping track of, or I wasn't thinking about. Same with reading formats. So basically, because I was marking down every single one, it was looking as though I was reading way more books than I was, because I wasn't keeping track of the fact that I do get them from multiple versions. So that was something that really frustrated me last year, whereas here I included like physical and audio, and then ebook and audio as reading formats. It's a lot cleaner. I'm doing an X for every library book that I do get, but is associated with like another book I have physically, or it just looks better. And then with new to me authors, I read 10 new to me authors out of 13. So we're on track for, again, a very Leandra thing, where I just introduce myself to a bunch of new people and don't read anything from authors that I've already loved. With my series tracker, this is also looking a lot cleaner. I'm keeping track of the series I'm starting, but I'm also keeping track of the series that I'm continuing, and I have a color key. So for instance, Starlight Shadow, I read books 1 and 2 back in 2023, but then I just finished the trilogy in January, and so I'm doing it a different color, so you can tell there. And then I also have my monthly stats, and those are looking clean as well. I really like how, I just can't wait to see how it all filled out, because it's already looking really nice. And then we have my head-to-head, which is just has one book filled out because I've only gone through 1 month. And then I'm just going to quickly flip through my Bookemon. You can see I'm reading some books. Things are going well. I did make some updates from my flip through, so I included monthly Bookemon, like a nice little graph there. I did actually get the January Bookemon, I just haven't filled it out yet. And then snow season Bookemon, and then themed Bookemon is kind of a work in progress spread, because you know, as the prompts drop, I'm not sure how it's going to end up looking, but so far it looks great. I might have to jump back into a different season Bookemon in between themed books, but it's working out. I'm keeping track of what the Bookemon is, what the items are to get it, the prompts, and then the books I'm using, so that I'm not accidentally overlapping any books. I think it's working out for me. And then finally, we are halfway through the video, and I have my January spread. This is my monthly spread, and as you can see, the beginning of the month, I was really ambitious, and that's mainly because of TBR-a-thon. I was juggling 4 or 5 books a day just to try to chip away at different ones. I was doing buddy reads and read-alongs, and then I slowly kind of calmed down, especially in weeks 2 and 3, where I was like, okay, Leandra, you need to reflect. And then it amped up a little bit in the final week. And then you can see all of the books that I started, if I finished them, if I DNF'd them, and then the star rating that goes along with it. And the rating at the bottom, the average rating, is actually in relation to the quarter star ratings, because this year I'm getting into quarter star ratings. We're gonna see how it goes. And meanwhile, the spread just before that had the table, that is gonna be average if I were to use whole stars. I'm kind of interested to see the difference, and if quarter star ratings actually makes a difference for averages or not. But yeah, every color that is associated with the title is the one that's matched with the circle on that day. If I didn't already say that, I don't think I did. Now we have reached my TBR-a-thon spreads. So I ended up combining the trail map and the to be rolled, specifically because I had a lot of repeated books that I was getting through, and those ones were a bit more complicated, as far as the other 3 spreads were just kind of, if I fulfill them, I fulfill them, whereas these ones I had to be really specific and know the route and what the prompt was that I got for it. And they turned out really well. Like, I actually am very pleased with the various little designs I did for each map route that I landed on. And then for the rolled game board, I'm in love with my little dice. Like, it turned out really well. I really like it. You can see how the kind of route went, and it was a bit messy, but I did end up completing both prompt trail map and game board, and I'm really pleased. I did not know if this was going to happen. And then this, as I said, this is where things kind of get where I'm just kind of filling it out as I go. I got a handful of bingos, which was great. There were a couple prompts that I didn't get through, like green cover. I was halfway through the book I was reading then. I'm going to finish it in February. Indie published, which I was kind of disappointed by. What the heck? Maybe I need to look through those books and see if any of them were independently published or by an independent publisher. I should check that out. And then the book chain I completed, which was great. And the scavenger hunt, there's only one this or that I didn't actually pick between, and that was romance and thriller. Even though I did read a romance technically in January with Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and with thriller, technically The Night Raven is a bit of a middle grade thriller. It's like a very dark mystery. So I guess I technically did those, but it doesn't really matter. Now we get to my monthly reviews. I don't review every single book that I read. So for instance, you're not going to see 13 books with full page reviews. And I think that's why the whole bullet journal lifestyle works for me, because it would be too much for me to expect myself to make a full page review of every single book, especially because, as you can see, I do a lot of work. Like, I make a really big drawing, in my opinion, that takes a long time, and I'm very meticulous as far as the information I'm gathering. And that tree with the cat in it is a pivotal scene in which Chloe meets her love interest in a bit of a different circumstance than you'd expect. And then we have Capture the Sun and Dead Voices. And with every kind of art design, or like, I guess, doodle that I do, it is usually in relation to something that you see on the cover or a scene, like something that's really important to the plot. With Capture the Sun, directly from the cover. And then with Dead Voices, one big theme is the ability to move to a different kind of realm or world through mirrors. And one of the children ends up getting sucked into the mirror, and the entire plot is that they need to get her out before morning, and then she'll be stuck there forever. So you can see that I try to provide something really meaningful that would be a reflection of the book, its cover, or just like the content within it. And it came out really good, I think. Now these two, they're smaller drawings, but I still find them all very cute. For Emily Wilde, I decided to do her journal because she is journaling, chronicling her entire experience as she's looking for the hidden ones in the icy north. And then I have, for A Psalm for the Wild Build, two small drawings that are representative of the two main characters, Mosscap and Sibling Dex. Mosscap is a robot that is named after the first thing that it saw in the world when it was created, and that was like a cluster of mushrooms. And then with Sibling Dex being a tea monk, I was like, of course I'm gonna give Deck a nice steaming mug of tea to represent them. And I'm very proud of these two books and like their spreads. I think that they actually complement each other really well. The books that have been kind of paired together, I think, have worked out really well, as far as either both being books that I adore, or their themes kind of match, their color schemes. I don't know. It's just, it's worked out really well this month, where I haven't had to put one book review next to another one, and I usually just do it as I read them. And so apparently I'm just into certain themes. And this is the same kind of element. Both of these books were a bit eerie, a bit darker in different ways. Meanwhile, the September House, being the horror one, was actually campy. So In the Woods was much darker than the September House, arguably. Now with In the Woods, that is the theme of these children that go off into the woods and only one of them returns. And so I kind of decided to play off of the tree that I made for Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and just multiplied it, more trees. And then with the September House, there is the basement door that's boarded up, and all of the other ghosts keep saying, he's down there, he's down there. And every September, blood pours down the walls. And I was like, I'm gonna do that for this spread. And it came out really great too. Like I honestly, I can't, maybe I shouldn't be so hyped up about myself, but I think I did really good in January for these spreads. And then finally we have If We Were Villains. I'm still of two minds on whether I'm actually gonna show you this spread or not, because it is for a vlog and I don't really know if I should be spoiling it or not. So you may just have a square or a graphic covering that. But on the right hand side, we have my January superlatives, and I filled them out now. now, but I didn't fill them out here, but you'll see that this is what I'm going to do for every single month. At the end of my reviews, I'm going to have superlatives for the month that are pretty much giving awards to various books. And I did that last year and I really liked it, and it just allows me to praise more than just a book that I gave like, you know, 5 stars, being like, this is my top book, and it's like, but I read so many other good books that I liked, and I like them for different reasons. So I have it in 3 different categories: characters, so favorite lead, favorite supporting lead, which I just added that this year. I didn't have supporting characters, but I read quite a few books with supporting characters that I liked in January, and I was like, okay, we gotta add it. And then also worst lead, that's another superlative that I just added because I had a few books that had some terrible lead characters. And then we have a few ones that I brought in from last year, like the sleuth, the cast, the couple. I added more to setting because I realized how important setting is. Every single book, I realized, literally every single book I finished in January, the setting is so important. It's integral to why the plot is happening where it is, how it's impacting the characters. Like, I actually can't believe it. It's baffling to me. And then finally, just some miscellaneous things that I'm throwing in, including 2 new statistics or 2 new awards: top new to me author and then top veteran author. So very fun. And then we just get a bit of a sneak peek on how February's doing. It's really kind of fun to see the difference between how full January is and now how very plain February's calendar looks, but you know that it's gonna end up looking the way January looked once the month is over. And that's why I kind of wanted to show you what February looked like, so you knew what January looked like before it completed. So a lot of the spreads I make, as far as keeping statistics go, it looks boring until you fulfill them, and then you're like, oh my gosh, look at all of this. And even with Battle of the Girl Bands, which is a readathon that I'm doing in February, I'm a co-host for Team TLC. I have all of the team prompts that I need to complete. I've got the buddy reads that I'm thinking about doing for specifically TLC, and then stolen prompts is blank because I haven't read enough books to actually participate in the stolen prompts yet. You have to read 4 books from your team prompts, and as you can see, I'd only read 2 at the time, and that's going to be one that I fill out more often, you know, as the month goes. So those are my January spreads, a little bit of my annual spreads, a little sneak peek of February. I hope you enjoyed looking through them and were okay with my kind of ramblings, because I honestly was just speaking on the fly as we were going, and so hopefully it is coherent enough for you. If you have any suggestions or want to talk about your own bullet journal, then I would love to do that in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me, and if you enjoy it, don't forget to like the video and consider subscribing, and then I'll know that I should make this a bit of a monthly staple as far as my video content goes. So thanks everyone, I hope you have a lovely day, that you're reading great books in February, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!